the real reason God hasn't opened that door yet. You've prayed. You've fasted. You've done everything they said would open that door. But nothing. It's still shut. And maybe no one says it out loud. But deep down, the question burns. Why would God give me the dream and then keep me locked out? Before we move forward, let's take a moment to revisit one of the most powerful Bible stories ever told. The story of Joseph. Joseph had a dream so vivid, so powerful, that he couldn't stay quiet about it. He believed God was calling him to something great, and he was right. But what Joseph didn't know was that the path to the throne would pass through betrayal, slavery, and prison. He was only 17 when his own brothers, fueled by jealousy, threw him into a pit and sold him into slavery. He lost his home, his name, his freedom, but not his faith. In Egypt, he served with excellence in Potiphar's house, until he was falsely accused and thrown into prison. Once again, crushed, forgotten, left behind, years passed, and still no sign of the dream. But while the world forgot Joseph, God was forging him in the fire. In the pit, Joseph lost his pride. In slavery, he learned to serve. In prison, he learned to lead. And when the time came, in a single moment, God lifted him from the lowest place to the right hand of Pharaoh. Joseph didn't just save a nation, he forgave the brothers who betrayed him. Because by then, he wasn't the same Joseph who had the dream, he was the one who had been crushed, pressed, and refined. So what if your delay isn't God saying no, but God saying not yet? What if the silence you feel isn't absence, but preparation? Because God will not use you publicly until He has shaped you privately. And today, we're going to uncover the real reason God hasn't opened that door yet, and why that just might be the greatest act of love He could show you. God gives the dream, but not the throne. God often gives us a glimpse of the destination long before we're ready to arrive. Just like Joseph in those early days, many of us receive a vision, a calling, a purpose that feels too big, too bold, too soon. He saw sheaves bowing, stars aligning, and he believed. But what he didn't see was the pit, the chains, the prison. This is the tension so many face, receiving the dream but not understanding the delay. Bible stories like this are reminders. The waiting is never wasted, and let's be honest, that part's hard. In a world that chases instant results, it's frustrating when God doesn't move on our schedule. People around you may not understand your vision, and worse, they may mock it, like Joseph's brothers did. That's where your faith-based content must go beyond emotional hype and root itself in daily trust. This is where the first cracks of spiritual growth begin. When the dream requires deeper roots than you thought you'd need, you may think, God has forgotten the promise. But what if He's actually working behind the scenes, preparing you for something greater? Think of the Bible lessons hidden here. Joseph had the calling, but not yet the character. And God doesn't promote talent, He promotes trust. That's why this story isn't just for kids. It's a Bible story parents can share, especially when their family feels stuck in a silent season. But wait until you see what God builds in silence. The process is the preparation. What feels like a setback might actually be your shaping. The process isn't punishment, it's preparation. Look at Joseph, betrayed, sold, enslaved, and still, God was with him. But being with him didn't mean escape, it meant formation. In Potiphar's house, Joseph learned how to manage. In prison, he learned how to serve. These weren't detours, they were training grounds. Bible stories like his aren't bedtime tales, they're blueprints for real, faith-based content that hits where life hurts. And here's what most people miss. God develops what no one sees before he reveals it to the world. Think about the olive press. Oil only flows when pressure is applied. So, when God allows pain, pressure, or delay, it's not to crush you, but to reveal what's inside. Will it be fear, bitterness, anxiety, or will it be peace, forgiveness, and resilience, the fruits of the Spirit? That's the real test of Christian family values. Not what you say, but what pours out when life squeezes. Joseph didn't skip steps. He didn't pray the pain away, he grew in it. That's why his promotion wasn't luck. It was the result of quiet obedience in hidden places. If you're in a season of silence, maybe you're not being overlooked. You're being refined. These are the life lessons from the Bible no sermon can substitute. And in just a moment, we'll talk about the very thing that delays most breakthroughs. God tests character before he grants influence. Influence in God's kingdom doesn't come through charisma, it comes through character. Before Joseph ever wore Pharaoh's ring, he wore chains. He faced injustice, false accusations, years of silence, and he didn't retaliate. That matters. Why? Because spiritual growth isn't just about knowing the word, it's about becoming the kind of person who lives it under pressure. These Bible stories aren't ancient history, they're mirrors. And Joseph, he passed every hidden test long before he passed public ones. We all say we trust God, until trusting costs us our reputation, or our timing, or our comfort. But what if God is more interested in what you say when no one's listening? What if the way you treat people in the prison is the key to unlocking the palace? This is exactly what Christian parenting YouTube channels should be teaching. Integrity when unseen. Joseph served the cupbearer and the baker faithfully, even when they forgot him. He didn't need applause to keep serving. And let's be clear, Joseph never sank into self-pity. That's important, because self-pity feels humble, but it's actually just another mask for pride. I deserve better. This isn't fair. Look what they did to me. Sound familiar? God resists the proud, even when pride sounds like pain. Joseph chose humility. He kept his eyes forward. He didn't stay in the bitterness of why me. He leaned into what now, and that posture, that's what made him trustworthy. In the next chapter, the door opens when the heart is ready. God didn't forget Joseph. He was simply waiting for the version of Joseph that could carry the weight of the promise. When the time came, Pharaoh didn't just need a dream interpreter. He needed a leader who had been forged in fire. And Joseph, he was no longer the boy with dreams of greatness. He had become a man shaped by silence, anchored in humility, and seasoned with wisdom. That's why the Bible stories we often rush through must be revisited slowly, because they reveal patterns God still uses. Doors open when the heart is ready, not when we demand it. God doesn't elevate us to fulfill our egos. He does it to fulfill his purpose. Think about it. Had Joseph been promoted too soon, he might have led from pain, from pride, from self. But God doesn't release us when we're gifted. He releases us when we're safe, safe to carry his name, safe to bless others, safe to forgive. That's the kind of faith-based content we need in a world obsessed with shortcuts. When God finally opens the door, it often happens fast, but never randomly. In one day, Joseph went from prisoner to prime minister. But that moment only made sense because of every step before it. He didn't manipulate his way into power. He didn't network his way to the top. He waited, and God honored that. These are the kinds of Bible lessons that build patience in both kids and adults. The lessons parents should teach their families in the quiet moments. The irony is, most people give up right before the breakthrough. They assume delay means denial. But often, the delay is protection. God is making sure your identity is rooted not in what you do, but in who you are in Him. And that's why sometimes He'll close a door you're ready to walk through, until you're ready to carry it with reverence. Now let's talk about what Joseph did once the door finally opened, and what you should do when yours does too. When the door opens, don't forget who you are. Joseph didn't change when he stepped into the palace. He revealed who he had become through the process. He didn't seek revenge. He didn't remind his brothers of their betrayal to make them feel small. He wept, he forgave, he embraced them. And that right there, that's the proof the forge worked. Bible videos for family should highlight this. Power never defines a believer. Character does. And when God gives you influence, it's not for your story to be known, it's for His grace to be shown. In leadership, Joseph remained a servant. He didn't see his position as status, he saw it as stewardship. That's a radical message in a culture obsessed with visibility. But Joseph had spent years invisible, and now he wasn't trying to prove anything. This is a lesson for any family trying to raise godly children. Teach them not just to chase platforms, but to value patience, service, and obedience. These are the Christian family values that will last beyond a season or trend. And here's what truly sets Joseph apart. He used his position to provide for the very people who once rejected him. That's not weakness, that's spiritual strength. That's maturity forged in the fire. That's why we say inspirational stories like this carry more than drama, they carry blueprints. This wasn't just his victory, it was the preservation of nations. Your breakthrough might not be just for you either. Bible lessons remind us the purpose is bigger than our pain. So the question now isn't just, are you ready for the door to open? It's what will you do when it does? Will you hold on to the pain or walk in grace? Will you try to prove your worth or serve with joy? God may be preparing you to carry influence that shapes others, not just bless yourself. And that brings us to the final truth. The one that ties Joseph's journey to your own walk with God, and why that door you're waiting on might still be closed. So now you know. The delay wasn't punishment. It was preparation. The silence wasn't rejection. It was the forge. And maybe, just maybe, God hasn't opened that door yet because He loves you too much to let you walk through it unfinished. He's not holding you back out of anger. He's anchoring you in purpose. But here's what matters while you wait. Don't stop showing up. Don't stop serving. Don't stop giving your best. Joseph didn't wait passively. He worked faithfully. He interpreted the dreams of others. He cleaned, led, encouraged, all while forgotten. And he did it with a heart that was grateful, not bitter. That's the kind of heart God trusts with influence. So ask yourself, when pressure rises, what flows out of you? Are you serving with joy or performing with resentment? Are you storing up gratitude or counting what you think is missing? This isn't just a feel-good message. It's a call to act, to become. So today, recommit to the process. Do it with excellence. Live as if the door is already open, and soon enough, it will be. And if this stirred your heart, share this message with someone walking through the same valley. Subscribe to Roots and Faith, turn on the bell, and join us on this journey of Bible stories. Faith-based content and biblical lessons on faith that transform hearts, for families, for parents, for every believer waiting for God's perfect timing. Because your season of waiting isn't a waste, it's a forge. And what comes out of it will glorify God far beyond what you imagined.